We're talking newsletters today, Jana, and what you should include in your newsletter.
Yeah,
Um,
email newsletters.
Email newsletters, exactly. I don't know what other kind of newsletters there are. I mean, maybe those that you send home from school.
That's
You have,
because you are 10 years younger than me, something like that, more.
I know my grandparents used to get a church bulletin newsletter every
Yeah.
week in the mail.
Yeah, we get like a neighborhood newsletter. Our neighborhood association does like a little printed newsletter.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
But
Okay,
that's not what we're
okay.
talking about. We're talking about emails today because we're online business owners.
We're talking about emails, and we're so excited to talk about that because we love email. So we are going to just dive right in. We only have a very short amount of time to chat today because we both have something right after the call. So we have a tight 30 minutes. So we're really only 25 more. I know it's sometimes that happens. So
Yep.
what should go in your email newsletter? I mean, I struggle with this. I'm not gonna lie. Yesterday's email was one sentence, two sentences, and a YouTube video.
Hey, that works.
I mean, it drove viewership to the video,
Yeah.
which is exactly what I wanted.
hmm
Other times I will,
what made you think that wasn't enough?
you know who I am, Jana.
I'm so curious though. What makes you think that that's not enough?
I don't know. I normally write a little bit more. Deanna, I think she's watching right now. She says my two favorites. I'm not sure if you saw my newsletter from yesterday, if you get my emails, but normally I'm a little more talkative
Yeah.
in them.
Okay.
I normally do one of your methods that you might talk about today. And it's basically like taking something from the content and like expanding on it and then pushing them to the video to watch it. And that normally works
Right.
really well. But I just have not been in a creative mood for email writing recently. So I've just been,
Yeah. Well, I think it works well actually, because to be honest, I think one of the nice things about one good thing to do is to kind of like shake things up and do things a little differently and not necessarily always be predictable.
yeah,
And I actually don't do that well enough. I feel like I have my rhythms and my emails are pretty predictable as far as like when they're going to come and what types of things they're going to say. And I mean, hey, I've got people out there who like love my emails, who like hang
mhm,
on my every
they're
word, who
really
always
good.
email me back, thank you, and say how great they were and whatnot. So it's not like it's not a problem, but I think it's really good to occasionally shake things up and do something a little different, keep people on their toes, in
Yeah.
your email box. So I wouldn't kick yourself about that. I think that's a good thing that you shook it up a little.
It's definitely not something I do every week, but if I do find weeks where I am feeling a little busy or not like
Yeah.
creative, whatever, I do the minimum viable thing, which is
Yeah.
to get an email out to my list on Tuesdays.
hmm
So that's what happened yesterday. Now, I don't always do that. Like I said, I normally will pull something out and expand on it
Right.
um, in my newsletters. I would like to do more than that. I'd like to get to where I'm doing some selling in newsletters, but I haven't gotten there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, I'll share what I do, but I also just want to point out that what you just described, which I call my gem pull framework, that's one of the frameworks I teach inside of high leverage content. I don't know if it's really a full framework. It's part of a fuller framework, um, where you pull something out of the longer piece of content and you expand on it. One of the cool things about doing that is that it sets you up to sometimes, not always, it doesn't have to always be exclusive, but it sets you up to be creating something that's a little bit exclusive for your email list. Because
Yeah.
I always have it in my head that I want to make sure that people, if they're really watching carefully, they really understand there's a reason to be on my email list, that I do send exclusive content to that email list, that my email list are my besties and they're going to get everything either first or they're going to get something that's a little bit more detailed or a little bit more personal, things like that. So it's definitely exclusive content. And what you're describing is a really good way to do that. So I just wanted to point that out. And I think, again, that's one thing you're doing really well. Okay, so email newsletter. So first of all, I just want to say, like, the word newsletter, we kind of joked about it at the beginning of this video. People still use that term and we're using it really loosely, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have like a multi-piece newsletter style thing that goes out. Some people do
Right.
that where like they'll have like every Tuesday they send something out and there's kind of like 5 different sections of the newsletter. It's like what's new, like what I'm reading, what I'm inspired by or whatever. And that's great if you want to do it that way. I've tried that over the years and I always feel like it's a lot of work every week. I almost feel like I'm writing like 5 email newsletters every week, if I do it that way. So that just doesn't fit who I am, like how I like to do things, but I think that's one great way to approach it. But anyway, so newsletter, we're using it in the sense of just like, what do you send your email list? That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So what I do right now, I'm in a season in my business. I've been doing this for about a year and I like it. So it's working for me. So I'll keep doing it for now. Is every Tuesday I send out my high leverage hits is what it's called. Basically email newsletter. And it's not that much different from all my other emails. Typically on Tuesdays, it has a banner on it. And I go into a little bit more detail about a tactic or a strategy, or it might be a little bit more behind the scenes. So it's a little bit richer. And it basically, it typically still has a call to action to do something, usually to buy my current offer that I am focused on. But basically, yeah, it's like a little bit richer. If there's something I want to teach about in particular that week, I'll usually include it in the Tuesday email. Whereas the other emails that I send out throughout the week, I usually send like 3 to 5 emails a week because that's my main channel. I try to be more active in my email newsletter than I am anywhere else, basically. That's kind of my goal. I go through phases where like on threads, I'm like obsessed with threads right now. But those emails are a little bit more self-contained and typically they solve like one little problem. I'll just think like, what's one little problem that my audience has, and I'm going to solve it in this email, explore it, solve it, and show them how what I offer helps them to solve it or to solve the larger problem at hand as well, or the problem underneath the problem. And I do a weekly market research session these days, which is where I get most of my newsletter ideas, where I sit down and I have a bunch of different places I go, whether it's Facebook groups or my own recordings of my own student calls in high leverage content, my own high leverage content student like group. And I go looking to see what people in my audience are asking for and need and what problems they have. And my
Mhm.
first priority in my emails is, like I said, to solve a problem and show also how HLC, high leverage content, my program, solves the larger problem at hand. Um, and I think people really love that strategy, or they really love getting that from me because I am solving little problems and giving them little shifts that help them solve their larger problems. So it seems to be working really well. People really like the emails just for what they are. And people also buy from them. So that's great. I'm giving value. Even if people don't buy from them, the emails are high value. But then some people do buy from them. And so that's kind of like, to me, that feels like the perfect balance, I guess, or the
Yeah.
perfect situation to be giving value regardless of whether people buy, but also seeing some people are buying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Tony asks a really great question, and I followed up with her asking a follow-up. So she says, do you have 2 emails to send, one to nurture and one that's part of a sales sequence? So I followed up with a question that said, is this for newsletters or email sequences? Because it sounds like maybe some of that, Tony, could be a sequence, which
Like
is
an
not
automation, an automated sequence.
not necessarily part of your newsletters, but I will say something that I want to do more of, I have tested this already, was to send email sequences live. So choosing a week that I want to send these emails out, that will be part of a larger sequence later, seeing how they perform, making changes, and then turning them into an automation is a really great way to test your automation emails to see, without having to wait for people to get into them, how they're going to perform.
Yeah. And I don't know if is it Tony?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if the question is about segmentation. Let us know if you want to clarify that question
She
for us,
said
Tony.
newsletter. So basically, her question is, do you have 2 emails, a nurture email and a sales email?
Mm-mm. Not me. I don't see any difference between nurturing and selling. I don't really make like a big, I mean, I understand the difference denotatively between the words, but
Yeah.
to me, I'm just showing people that I can help them by solving small problems that they have, giving them new ways to think about how to approach solving those problems. and showing them, like I said, how my paid offers solve either those problems or the larger problems at hand as well. And to me, they're the same. So I don't worry about, I know sometimes people are like, should every email, have a call to action to buy something? Or, wow, Jana, I noticed like all your emails are asking
Mhm.
people to buy things. And yes, they are, because I run a business.
Yeah. Yeah, Tony, I actually think Jana's email strategy might be really effective for you. So maybe you should get on her email list and just see what her emails look like.
Sure.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I'll put the link in the show notes, but it's easy to find too. It's janaomedia.com/emails.
Um, what is something that you can show us or showcase to us of like a problem within a problem that you were talking about in the email newsletter?
Yeah.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, let me think about like let me pull up. I'm kind of, as
I
Heather
put you
knows,
on
I'm what?
I put you on the spot, so I
Oh
won't
no, it's okay. I'll
apologize.
figure it out. It's okay. Yeah, no, I'm not feeling my best today, so it might take me a
Yeah.
minute to move past my fuzziness and figure out how to. Yeah, so for example, I just sent out an email recently that says posting recipes won't get you coaching clients. So that's the subject line. It's a little bit spicy.
Okay. Mhm.
And basically I'm saying it says, right now your blog is really just a collection of recipes and lifestyle tips. To be honest, it's not much different than what your ideal clients could find elsewhere. And I get why you're doing this. Even though you have deep expertise in your niche, unique perspectives, and the knowledge it takes to be a thought leader, you're not sure how to take all that experience and expertise and package it up into more substantive marketing content.
Mhm.
So that's really, there's kind of two problems at hand here. One of them is I'm posting a lot of like recipes and like lists of like top 10 books in my niche and, things like that. But I have this sneaking suspicion that it's not getting people to buy anything. Maybe
Mhm.
part of that is that no one's actually buying anything. So you have the evidence. The other part is that like, I think people who are reading this in my ideal audience, they already kind of have that suspicion that that's really shallow content and it's not really going deep enough to give people like the shifts that they need to figure out, um, like the shifts that they need and the help that they need to really do something that's going to move the needle, right? So there's sort of those two problems at hand. One is you're posting a lot of recipes and they're not converting, you're not getting clients with them. And two, you don't know what to post instead, right?
Mhm.
So that's, and I go into talking a little bit more in the email about how if you have content pillars that are not like that go deeper than the typical content pillars, then you now will know what to post instead of posting a recipe just because you need to post something today or
Mhm.
this week, and you just have to get something up there and the recipe's easy. Um, I also talk in this email about like what you want your content to be doing, which is helping people know that you understand their problems, desires, concerns, that you have the expertise to help them solve those problems. So talking about like, okay, thinking about like, okay, those recipes and other people's quotes that you're posting, are they really showing that and helping them see that? No, they're not. And so you need to post things and write about things in your blog or record things in your episodes that actually do get to those, to those things. And then high leverage content helps you do that. And I talk about how high leverage content helps you do that. So I don't know if that's like the very best example of a problem within a problem. It's literally the first email I pulled up when I just looked at
Yeah.
some of my emails. So I'll look for another example too, just in case it's like a more like maybe more of a obvious specimen, if you will. But
Well,
that's the kind of thing that I mean.
something, and Tony, it's totally fine. She follows up with, she is on your list and she doesn't have the
Oh,
bandwidth
thanks.
right now for 2 emails a week. And that's fine. We want to email our list with the bandwidth we do have, but then
Yeah,
ensuring if you do have the bandwidth for 1 email a week, we're sending that email. And that's why I said
yeah,
earlier live, I don't know if you were here yet, Tony, or not, but I sent the world's shortest email to my list yesterday because that's all I had the energy to do.
yeah.
Uh, However, Tony and I have been talking in the Academy group lately about kind of a shift in her content of she doesn't just want to post recipes anymore. And
Oh,
I think you should talk about
really?
that in your emails, Tony. Yeah, so Tony sells a program that helps people to cook restaurant worthy meals or restaurant quality meals
Oh,
at home. And her
right.
husband's
Well,
an actual chef.
I didn't know that when I used the example of recipes. That's really interesting.
So I
It's
thought it
funny.
was a really great cross-pollinator there. But I think you should talk about that. Like, you know, X reasons why this recipe for salmon, it doesn't matter what the recipe is, it's how you cook it, or it's how you present it, or,
Yeah.
the other things that make something restaurant quality. I think just about any recipe for smoked salmon, just about will probably suffice. But what makes your method and why is your program going to help them to actually achieve restaurant quality meals?
Ooh, I like that. So that, like, there's so much more to restaurant quality than just knowing like what temperature to cook something at and for how
Correct.
long, or, what 5 ingredients go into a marinade. Like those things are important, but they're not the whole picture.
Yeah, she says, so
Yeah.
you're posting or writing about showing that you understand the problem and then you show your expertise. So I
Mm.
have an email up from Jana. Actually, I closed out of it to go and open up an email from Tony. It says, but though it's the one that's posting recipes won't get your clients. And one thing that I really like about your emails, Jana, is like you have kind of this intro, this body of content above, and then you go into coaches who join high leverage content and it's linked program go from X to Y.
Yep.
So Tony, that's how she's kind of bridging that gap that I taught you guys about in October and November in the deep dives in the academy. That gap that I always talk about, she's bridging the gap from problem to here's the solution, but she's not
Yeah.
giving them everything in the email.
Yeah.
So I actually, to follow up on your point, I had a call with someone this week that was struggling with their Pinterest conversions. And
Mm.
when I went on their account and I audited it, I found that they weren't actually posting any products.
Oh,
There were no, and they're like, well, why aren't we getting conversions? Well, where are your products?
where were they posting? Blog posts?
Blog posts, things for
Which is
trends,
good, but uh-huh.
repurposed reels, things like that. But I think they were so concerned about looking spammy that they were just afraid to pin their products. And I was like, no, this is part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Like, we really need to do that. So even including that in your emails, guys, of like things that you see people in your industry not doing, even though they need to do it.
Exactly.
A lot
Yeah,
of
I
people
love
don't
that.
make sales because they don't sell, which is why Jana's emails sell.
It's true. It's true. You do have to actually ask for the sale and connect the dots for people, from where they are to where you are. One of my mentors, Samantha, my Hoylett, my messaging mentor, often says like, people will say to her, she'll say like, well, what's the value of of getting on a one-to-one call with you or something? And they'll say, well, isn't it obvious? And she says, no, it is never obvious. Like there is never anything that is obviously of value. You have to spell it out for people. You have to really intentionally connect the dots. And I think even in that situation that you're talking about, this is a little bit meta, Heather, but those, people sometimes post things on Pinterest or any platform because they figure, well, I'll just get visible. And if I get visible, then people will kind of naturally find their way to purchasing my product.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't work that way anymore. I think maybe, 8 or 9 years ago in online business, you may have been able to do that, but these days you really have to be very intentional about that customer journey that we always talk about. Customer journey sounds very like lingo-y, but basically it's saying to that person, like, okay, if they see your repurposed reel on Pinterest, that's point A. And let's say point J, I don't want to say Z, but point J is where they actually buy your product. Like, what are all those stepping stones that you need to lay out along the way? And then looking at each one of those stepping stones and making sure that they're bringing people down that path and that
Mhm.
you're getting those micro conversions along the way.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Right? We have to like, that's part of that. That's part of marketing. And I think people don't realize that a lot of times. They think they can just kind of get out there, get seen, and that people will just
Want to
figure it
buy.
out. Yeah, they'll figure out how to get there.
You have to actually lay the path and put paint on it that says this way to
Right.
solve this problem.
Yeah, I love that. Exactly. Yep. And
Um,
so just as an example, that might look like they see your reel has a call to action to let's see, your repurposed reel has a call to action to click the link because now, all pins have links
Mhm.
to a blog post. And the blog post is, 3 ways to style XYZ. And in the blog post, the XYZ thing that's being styled is the product that you sell, for example. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be 10 steps, but you need to be thinking about what those specific steps are. And at each point along the way, what would make people want to move to the next step,
Yeah, I love that. So, and I know we're not giving you guys like specific examples in this video of what to include in your email newsletters, and some people might
Oh
have been
yeah.
like,
Oops.
"Oh, they're going to give us 25 ideas."
We
What I want,
can.
what
We
I want
can.
you to do instead is think through what products do you sell and what pain points do people have that connect to those products, and
Yeah.
what solution can you tie to it, and let's
Right.
create an email about it. So I actually just wrote down an email idea that I'm going to send, and it's what is the value of VIP months? And then I had a follow-up thought of, should you join the academy or hire me for VIP months? Because I'm really pushing the service of VIP months for Pinterest this year. I just want to work with fewer retainer clients, and I want to do more, setups and bless them and send them into the world.
Yeah.
So I'm going to write an email about it.
Yeah.
Should you do a VIP month or should you join the academy?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great topic.
It'll be the first of probably a series
Yep.
because there's multiple different things that need to be talked about for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the idea of writing a series because you can get really granular.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that writing a series allows you to do is instead of staying really high level and trying to like address everybody's pain points around everything, regardless of, how they monetize and, where they live in the world and what kind of business they run and all those things, is you can really get specific in the series and speak to their particular pain points. So doing rather than trying to say like, oh, I'm just going to write one email that's going to kind of speak to everyone, you can
Yeah.
write multiple emails that speak to individuals and individual problems.
Yeah. I like that.
And sometimes, Tony mentioned she doesn't really have the bandwidth to write more than one email newsletter a week. Sometimes the bandwidth is just the time to sit down and write it. Other times people think they don't have enough ideas or enough things to send. And I always encourage people to look at like what you were going to send, if it's just one a week. Is there a
Mm-hmm.
way to break that down and get more specific and send out 3 different emails that are all about that topic, but actually get a little more granular in each one?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, like you said, Heather, you don't have to send 3 a week, but if that's your
Yeah.
goal, if you want to be sending more emails, one way to do it is to look at what you were going to send and then say, okay, how can I go deeper and break that down into 3 emails instead of just one?
Yeah. So Tony says this has helped me get some more clarity. So we need to talk about, or we talk about the pain point or desire. You can do both. You can do both.
Yep.
Do a pain point in one email and desires in another email. So one pain point is I want to cook restaurant quality meals, but maybe I don't have the pans. I don't
Yeah.
have fancy pans. Well,
Right.
how do we overcome that?
Mhm.
And then, on the other hand, like a desire is, I see a desire more as a pleasure point, not necessarily like,
Yeah. Sometimes desires are the flip side of a problem, but that's okay. You can write about
yeah.
them from different perspectives. That's what I mean. When you can write more than one email about the same thing.
So then writing an email to your list about, you know, a student win. Susan came into the program not knowing how to cook anything, and she left the program knowing how to cook all these different things, and her guests left a dinner party saying these things. And like, so just even simple emails that outline client wins or student wins, I think are also really compelling.
Yeah.
Showcase wins.
Yep. I just have a couple of ideas. I'm going to throw them out there. Can you cook restaurant quality food and bring it somewhere? Like if I were going to a neighbor's house, because I don't do a lot of entertaining, or maybe your ideal client is not someone who doesn't like to entertain. Maybe they do like to entertain, and that's just like a line in the sand that you're drawing. Like if someone doesn't really want to have people over, they're not your people. That's fine. that might mean I'm not your people, which is okay. But can I cook something and bring it to my neighbors? Because we go to my neighbors for dinner a lot.
Oh, I have another
Um,
idea.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, it's an idea fest for Tony. Because I joined Tony's program, full transparency, her 30-minute meals program. Like I joined
Oh,
it minutes ago as
mhm.
quickly as I could while Jana was talking before the doors closed.
Oh,
But I'm not Tony's like super ideal audience, right? I'm cooking food for a family, and some of the people in Tony's audience are not necessarily cooking for families. Like they're beyond that child rearing phase. But I just want to cook meals that aren't boring and bland.
mhm.
And I'm tired of reverting to the same 15 meals
Right.
twice a week or twice a month.
Mhm.
I'm over it. So that's one of the reasons why I want to join a program like Tony's to cook restaurant quality meals in 30 minutes or less
I
because
love
of
it.
that.
Mhm.
So those, getting those reasons.
Yeah.
Tony, I'm also happy to share with the group, the Academy group, the survey that I just deployed into my email marketing system. It's a survey on autopilot. I'm happy to share that with you if you ever wanted to survey the audience, or anyone else in the Academy if they want to survey their audience. That's giving me more email ideas too, Jana.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying, I do a weekly session now where I study
Mhm.
my ideal audience. And that's definitely one of the things I could spend that 2 hour session once a week doing is putting together a survey and sending it out to my list and asking questions. Basically, I've carved out a period of time every week where I'm doing something that helps
Mhm.
me understand my audience more and helps me understand their problems and the things that they want help solving or need help solving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thought I just had, and this is again kind of random, but and we probably need to come back to our topic, is like my husband works late. So he's
Mhm.
coming home at like 8 o'clock from the gym after work, goes to work, stays too late, goes to the gym, which is great, comes home. So I would love to cook, more restaurant quality stuff, but it has to be something that I'll be able to cook. And then Tony's
Mhm.
probably gonna like be like, oh God, no, don't do that. And maybe
Mhm.
that's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you need to bust a myth in your content somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm dead wrong that you aren't gonna groan when I say I need to put foil over it and have it be ready for him when he comes home an hour after I had it ready to eat for myself. So anyway, that might be kind of an objection that you need to think about because
Yeah.
people like to cook for their person, but sometimes in my case, my person is a little unpredictable in terms of what time he's going to show up for
Yes.
dinner.
Yep. This is so true. Um, okay, well, we are at time. We do have some commitments that we need to run off to do, both of us today. For all my Academy members, I'll just screenshot my survey and post it in the group so you guys can see those questions and kind of adjust them however you see fit. But I hope this gives everyone just kind of an idea of what they can send to their list. It does not need to be boring, robotic updates or whatever. It can be so many other things, and you should definitely ask for the sale.
And make sure you're solving problems all the time,
Yeah.
even just little minute problems for people, the tiny little micro problems that they have. That's what's going to make your newsletter really exciting for people and they're going to be excited when they see it in the inbox.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's it for now, Jana. We will see you
Okay.
guys back here next week. We don't have that topic planned just yet, but it'll be up on the channel a little later today. So you guys can notify yourselves about that when it goes up. And then Jana and I'll be doing some content planning soon. So if you have any topics you want to hear from us about, make sure to let us know in the comments of any of our videos or shoot me an email. Okay, bye for now.